Hello, how are you today? I hope you're well. My name is Harry, and this is the Learn English with British Harry podcast. This podcast is designed to help you to be immersed in English. It gives you a way to listen to a native English speaker. I am also a British English teacher. I have taught thousands of students from all around the world, and these podcasts help my students to be immersed in real English. Now, in this podcast, it's a bit of a mixed bag. There is no set topic. So if you are looking for something a bit more structured, I highly suggest that you look at my other videos. But if you are looking for something a bit more relaxed, then this is the episode for you. And I find that speaking off the cuff is a very good way to improve your English speaking skills, especially when it comes to giving presentations, because it's a big fear for many people. Public speaking is a big fear for many people, especially when people are focusing on you and their attention is all on you. I actually quite like public speaking and giving presentations. I think it's because I learned a few tricks that really helped me. Firstly, it's a really good idea to look at people's eyebrows when you are giving a presentation. This way, you are not making direct contact with people, but you're able to look at people. Another tip is to focus on the message that you are giving. So when you're talking, try and focus on how you want the audience to feel about the presentation, rather than focusing on how you are sounding or the words that you are saying. I think that if you focus on the message, then it helps you to feel a lot more relaxed. I have a few bullet points that I wanted to talk about. The first being motivation. In particular, when it comes to learning English, you can have a lot of motivation at the beginning. Maybe it's the new year and you have a New Year's resolution. Maybe you've booked some English classes or bought an English course and you have all of this motivation. But then inevitably life gets in the way and the days just seem to blend into each other and go by so quickly. So your motivation starts to dip. So how do you keep your motivation going? How do you keep your energy levels up high? Well, I think it's important to keep chipping away at it. It's all about baby steps. Listening to this podcast, reading news articles, being surrounded with English. I think these podcasts are fantastic because you can listen to them anywhere. You can listen to them on the go, in your car, at the gym, when you're taking a walk in the park. So being surrounded by English, I think, is really important because eventually you will start to think more and more in English. And it's just a process of osmosis. That information, the rhythm of speech, will start to go into your brain slowly without you realizing it. So motivation, it comes and goes, but it's important to also have a strong belief. If you believe that you will improve your English to an excellent level, then you will find ways to make it happen. And I think in life, having a strong belief is really, really important because there will be many obstacles in your way. Maybe you have faced obstacles already, maybe in your profession, in your career, when you're studying. And it'll be interesting to know what type of obstacles have you had in your life and how have you managed to overcome them? Because I believe when you have that strong belief, you know it as a certainty, then it gives you the energy to take action. And I think that life rewards people that take action. Now, sometimes the action that you take doesn't always work. It won't always work. And this may not be down to you. You can put 100% effort, but you could still fail. Now, failing is subjective. I think that failing is not really failing. It's growing. It's growth. And having that mindset that failure is growth gives you that energy to keep going. For example, you may have things up against you. It could be the color of your skin, it could be your accent, it could be your qualifications. And in the real world, people have these unbiased perceptions or implicit bias. So they may favor someone else over you. But you know what? See this as an opportunity to work even harder. And sometimes you may have to work 10 times harder than another person to get the same recognition. But I think it's about gaining traction. Once you start working hard, coupled with a strong belief, eventually it will open up more opportunities. Think about the opportunities that you've had in your life. Some of them may have been by luck, but it really wasn't luck. It was all the steps that you took before that opportunity came your way. So trying, even when you don't have the motivation, but you have the belief that things will go well, I think is very powerful, because the truth of the matter is that it's all relative. You may think that you are not doing well, but another person who you perceive to be successful, they may feel that they are not having enough success. They want more success. So they're comparing themselves to other people. But at the end of the day, it's about comparing yourself to yourself, trying to improve, trying to be better today than yesterday. And this may mean studying for 5 minutes, studying for 10 minutes. Because if you didn't have that motivation, you would have thought, okay, I'm tired, I don't want to practice my English, I will do it tomorrow. So that 5 or 10 minutes, it all adds up. It's a compounding effect that it builds up over time. So understanding that, yes, unfortunately, sometimes you may be overlooked for things that are out of your control. There's nothing that you can do about it sometimes. But what you can do is having the belief and taking action, not waiting for things to be perfect in order to take action. I think by taking massive action, and when you are having failures, looking at those failures, seeing them as an opportunity to grow, thinking about, reflecting on how can I improve the next time? And even when you have a success, when you are successful, think about why I was successful. What did I do in order to achieve the desired result? So you can reverse engineer it, and you can see habits, you can see patterns. And I feel this is the way the brain works. It loves patterns, it loves repetition, it loves solving problems and puzzles. You only have to look at the plethora of mystery TV shows and drama that we have on TV, in movies. So thinking about improving step by step is very important, and being kind to yourself. Like I said, there are certain things that you cannot control, but by having good mental health, which is being kind to yourself, rewarding yourself, and giving yourself praise. If I think about teaching, when I give praise to my students, it improves their confidence, and I can be specific with the praise. Maybe they are improving their grammar or vocabulary or their fluency. So I can pinpoint a certain aspect and say, you're doing a really good job, well done. So this gives them motivation to make more mistakes, because your brain makes that connection that making the mistakes or perceived mistakes is actually growth. So it's a good idea to make lots of mistakes because you can learn from them. And I think this is one of the key secrets to life. Don't wait until you are ready. You become ready along the way. So if you want to improve your English, a really good tip is to get a phone, record yourself. I know you may feel some cringe, you may feel awkward, but by doing this every day, doing it 100 times and watching yourself back, you will start to see patterns of when you are missing out certain prepositions, or when you are starting to say or are a bit too much. So you can start to work on that. And it's something that I learnt as well. So rather than saying I would leave a pause. Now, I still do say in conversations because it's only natural, but I've reduced the amount. So yes, motivation, having a strong belief, reinforcing that with actual evidence. The brain loves evidence. So if you have kept trying and you've kept a record, your brain can say, yes, I have put in the work. So eventually I will start to see the results. So don't give up. Don't give up. Have that strong belief, even when you think things are against you. Know that and believe in yourself that you will get to where you want to go, because you are wonderful, you are amazing, and you will see the results that you want to over time. It's all about baby steps. So that's my little random discussion today about motivation. Other aspects of my life, I've bought a new microphone here. Let me know if the audio is better. I wanted to invest in the YouTube channel. I was using a small wireless microphone, which is very good. But that one is much better for going out and about. So I invested in this, which is the Rode Pod mic. No, it's not sponsored. I'm not sponsored by them. I looked at the reviews, and over time, I convinced myself that this is the one to get. When it comes to buying something, how do you buy something? I like to research. I love to research. So I watched a lot of YouTube reviews, read a lot of reviews. I made a short list of microphones that I liked. Then I shortlisted them. I had a criteria. I had some requirements, things that were important to me. One of them being USB connection. I saw that they had other connections as well, and you'd have to plug them into an amplifier, and that just became too fiddly. Now, I like technology, so for me that would not be too much of a problem, but I like to have the flexibility of being able to move around, take it with me, just having one cable to plug in. So once I narrowed my priority, once I knew, okay, this is my priority, then it became easier to shortlist the other microphones. And only a few had USB connections. Another important aspect is the price. So I didn't want to spend a lot of money, nor did I want to spend too little money and then have to buy something again in a few years' time. So I wanted something that I could invest in, that is future-proof. Now, I don't think anything is future-proof these days. I think there's a level of planned obsolescence that is built into technology today where they have a certain lifespan. I feel that technology and items bought in the past lasted a lot longer. So a machine that you bought 20 years ago lasted a lot longer than one that you buy today. So with these things in mind, I went for this microphone, which is quite beautiful. I'm really happy with it. When I was watching the YouTube videos, it became almost like an obsession because I didn't want to have buyer's remorse, which is inevitable after you buy something. So I watched a lot of reviews. I watched the unboxing reviews, which are quite nice. Also for things like ASMR, getting the sounds of opening the box, opening the cable, which is quite satisfying. And then looking at people with all of the different settings, which I haven't gone into yet. I like the aspect that it's really plug and play. So watching people with the products, using them, reinforced my belief that this is the correct product for me. Because when you're making a big purchase, it's nice to feel more confident. So this is the wonderful thing about the internet, is being able to watch reviews of things that you want to buy. It's like window shopping, but on another level. You can actually imagine yourself having the product. And even when you have the product and then you watch the review, you can feel good because it reinforces the fact that you made a good decision. So you can feel, okay, even though I spent a lot of money on something, it was worth it. So I think these things are really good. So when it comes to buying things, how do you make a decision? Do you watch YouTube videos? Do you read reviews? Or do you just buy something blindly? And how much research do you do? Because now you can research for months, watching the different reviews. So this is good, but the amount of time you take researching, another product could come out. And so it can be a never-ending cycle of watching reviews, waiting for the product, waiting for the best product. And sometimes you just have to take the plunge. It's like learning English. Sometimes you just have to dive in and take the plunge, try speaking to people, even if you feel self-conscious, trying out a new vocabulary word, even if you think it's in the wrong context. This is how you learn. A really good analogy is learning to swim. You can't learn to swim without getting wet. You can research all you want to, you can strategize, you can think about it, but you can only learn to swim by getting into the water. Now, some people may be more advanced swimmers than you. So you get into the swimming pool, you see other swimmers, you think, ah, wow, they're amazing. I'm never going to get to this point. But you know what? Each day that you get into the swimming pool, you will improve. And over time, you will get better and better. And in the distant future, when you look back, you will think, wow, I've really come a long way. So that journey is your journey alone. Don't compare yourself to another person. Think about your journey. Try to make it fun and interesting, and you will definitely improve. Apart from buying the microphone, I like to keep spending down to the essentials. How do you look at things that you want to buy compared to things that you need to buy? Is there anything on your shopping list that you're looking out for? How do you buy something? Do you look for special deals? I know there are lots of places online, for example, places like Temu, where you can buy a lot of cheap products. And I actually haven't bought anything from there, but I've looked at their website, and I have to say I am actually quite intrigued with some of their products. A lot of the products seem like novelty items that you would use once, but you wouldn't use again. Something like an avocado storage container or toilet mini golf. And it seems like there's something for everyone. You can look through their website for hours and look for things that look really interesting or would be good as a funny gift to give to someone. But then you can go down a rabbit hole and think about, do I really need this? You can end up with so many things. I know back in the day, before the internet, we had channels, shopping channels, where they would show you a product, and the person giving the presentation, they really had to improve their speaking skills and presentation skills, because they'd have to speak for a long time about a product. Now, once you've given all the information and given your opinion, how do you keep the conversation going? So it's quite interesting to watch. Now, some of the products seemed really interesting. And in terms of marketing, how they would get you to think that you needed this particular ab crunch machine or onion cutting device when you could just do sit-ups or use a knife to cut an onion. It came down to things like convenience. And as humans, we value convenience a lot. If you can make your life easier in a certain aspect, then sometimes spending that money is worthwhile because you get time back. If something you think is not really worthwhile, but for another person it may be, because they get time back, they save time. If it takes you 2 minutes to cut an onion, and you can cut an onion in 10 seconds, so it saves you time. You can make dinner faster. So let me know, what things have you bought that you didn't use, or you thought, this was a waste of money? Conversely, what have you bought that you thought, yes, this was a really good deal. It stood the test of time. For me, I think it has to be my MacBook Air M1, which I bought a couple of years ago, and it's still going strong. At the time, I was looking at a MacBook Pro, but the price seemed a bit too steep at the time. In hindsight, I do wish I'd gone for the MacBook Pro, but in my defense, this was the first time I was going for an Apple product, having been a Windows user all my life. But when I looked at the reviews of the new M1 Air, they had really good reviews, and I was convinced, okay, let me try it out first. And for the last couple of years, it's been fantastic. I haven't had any issues. The only problem is a lack of storage space. So one piece of advice I would give anyone when buying a phone or a laptop is to go for something with the largest amount of storage space. Because I've had to buy a few extra hard drives now to plug in, and it gets a bit fiddly transferring files, deleting files. So I would go for something with the largest storage space, so it gives you some leeway. It gives you some space to grow over the years, and then you can get an external hard drive. So yeah, I think that's one of my best purchases. I quite actually love using the MacBook Air. It's so light, portable, and fast, and I really haven't had any issues with it. So I'm actually an advocate now for Apple, when before I would stay away from MacBooks. So yeah, I think that's been a very good purchase. Now, if we also think about saving money, for example, do you buy things in bulk? When you buy things in bulk, you buy a large quantity of things. For me, I think it would be baked beans. If I see any specials on baked beans, I would stock up on baked beans because they have a long storage life. So you can keep them in the cupboard, forget about them. And it's always handy as well. If you're hungry, you can quickly have some beans on toast, which is very stereotypical for Britain, but it's also quintessentially British, having beans on toast. And if you want to be fancy, you can have some cheese on top. Other things you cannot buy in bulk, things like vegetables, for example. So I feel quite happy when I go to the supermarket and there's an older use-by date in a time for the future. So if I have 3 or 4 days, I'm quite happy, as opposed to only having 1 day. Because sometimes you can go into a supermarket and it can be the wrong time. So they may be having a delivery in a few days' time and you've gone to the supermarket too early. So yeah, things like fruit, vegetables don't really have a long shelf life. So you have to keep going to the supermarket for these. Now, you could buy online. You could get your food delivered to you, which is something that I do from time to time. Some of the drawbacks to this is that you don't get to see the vegetables and fruit in person to choose. So you're relying on someone else to choose it for you. Sometimes they will be in a rush and they don't choose the best quality. Sometimes the item won't be in stock, so they will replace it with something else that you don't really fancy. So if you want to make a recipe with specific ingredients, then you'll be in a bit of a pickle because you'll have to adapt and use different ingredients. But overall, it's very convenient. You can save on petrol, you can save time. However, if you have a time slot, then you have to sit around waiting for the food to be delivered at that particular time slot. So you can't really go out because you know your food will be delivered to you. So do you go to the supermarket, or do you have your groceries delivered to you? Yeah, so online delivery has exploded, has its pros, has its cons. Personally, I prefer to go into the shop to buy the products. Thank you very much for listening, and it would be wonderful to hear from you in the comments. Let me know what you think about some of these topics that I've discussed today. So things like motivation, belief, researching, and shopping. Have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next podcast. Bye-bye.